So a couple times recently, different people have asked me the same question. Is it okay to want stuff? One fellow said, well, I've been studying Buddhism, and Buddha said that the cause of suffering is desire. So now every time I desire something, I feel guilty. How do I work with that? And I told him, I think that translation from Buddha, that desire causes suffering, is a mistranslation. The real word he meant was craving. There's a difference between desire and craving. Desire is, I would like that. That might be fun. I feel guided to do that. Let me try that. It's just coming from a sense of overflow and joy and celebration. Oh, that's in the flow of my life. Craving is when, I have to have that. I can't live without that person. I can't live without that house. I have to have that job. And there's this angst. There's this kind of black hole in you that wells up. I can't, there's a gap. I'm here and the thing that I need is there and I have to fill that gap. Otherwise I'm going to be miserable. That's craving. And that's what causes suffering. There's not suffering, and I would like to have that, and let me try this. There's suffering, oh, God, I'm going to die if I don't get this. And so we have to try all of our, quote, desires on for size and find out where they're coming from. I had a pivotal experience when I was 14 years old. I went downtown one day, and I saw in the window of a pawn shop this very sexy red electric guitar with 3 pickups and a sway bar. I was like, oh man, that's what all the rock and roll stars have. And I went home to my father, said, I gotta have that guitar. And he said, why? I said, you gotta have it. I'll be a rock star and I'll get girlfriends. And I went on and on. And he kind of rolled his eyes. And he said 4 words to me in Yiddish that were burned into my soul. I remember them for many, many years. Now he said, "Was brennt bei dir," which means, what's burning in you? Like, what's the fire? Why do you have to have that? Why are you going crazy for this? And those words penetrated my hormonal skull. And I remember them to this day. And my father was actually teaching me a great lesson, that when you're coming from that sense of desperation, and I'm not valid, but that will make me valid. People will look at me, I'll get prestige, I'll be respected. Those are very unhealthy motivations attached to a desire. So you might want to take stock for a moment now, think, what is it I think I need to have so badly that I'm not going to live if I don't get it? It's kind of dramatic, isn't it? So let's actually go back and visit Buddha for a moment to understand what he came up with when he talked about desire. So if you know the story, Buddha started out as a prince, Siddhartha, and he grew up in a castle, a royal palace, and he was very sheltered. His parents did not let him see anything of hardship in the world. And all of the servants were beautiful and everyone was healthy and there was opulent stuff everywhere. And as far as he was concerned, nothing was ever wrong in the universe. And then one day as a young man, he decided to explore beyond the palace walls. So he climbed over and he began to walk around the town, around the palace. And to his great shock, he found that everything in life was not like it was in the palace. For the first time, he saw somebody who was sick, and he saw somebody who was suffering, and he saw a person who was old, and he saw a person who was dying. And he had never seen any of those things in the palace. He realized that his parents had built such a buffer around him that he did not know what real life was. So he left the palace voluntarily, and he started on his spiritual path. And the first thing he did was he tried to slice away all the things of the flesh, because he hooked it up that, well, if I'm in the physical world brings pain. So let me deny my physicalness and I won't have pain. So he walked naked and he starved himself and he slept on a bed of nails. He did everything he could to mortify the flesh. He became an ascetic. And this went on for years, but unfortunately, as this went on, his life force diminished. He was not succeeding at becoming happy or liberated by mortifying his flesh. Finally, he was emaciated and hungry, perhaps close to death. And this lady came along and she took pity on the man. And she offered him a bowl of rice porridge. She said, please eat, you'll come back to life. And in that moment, he had reached the end of his rope. And he thought, well, maybe I'll accept this porridge. And he took it and he ate it. And he was on his way back to health. But that is attributed as the Buddha's moment of enlightenment, when he discovered what he later called the middle path. He realized that denying the flesh, that indulging the flesh wasn't it, because the people in the palace, even though they had a lot of stuff, were not especially happy. And then denying the flesh, mortifying the flesh, wasn't it either. So he came up with the way of moderation, the way of balance. So to say I shouldn't desire anything is not the way of balance. It's one extreme. And Buddha or even Christ does not want us to go to either extreme, you understand? In A Course in Miracles, Jesus said, don't fight yourself. In other words, don't get into these battles with your body. Don't treat the body as Satan, keep it disciplined, but don't fight it. In other words, have a healthy balance in your life. It's okay to want stuff, but it's not okay to be desperate for stuff. Now, I've seen some documentaries on various monasteries, different religions. And in these monasteries, people shut themselves off from life, and they try to slice away the physical, and they slice away joy. And I respect them tremendously. Anybody who can join a monastery and shave their head and be devoted to the prayers and the practice, I really respect that. I think it's a really dedicated life. However, a lot of these people don't look like happy campers. They're dry. There was a good movie years ago called The Accidental Tourist. And this character, he had been burned in love. And so he became kind of a recluse and lived at home. And his idea of fun was alphabetizing the soup cans on the pantry shelf. That was what he did for excitement. And I thought, my God, if that's what life is about, count me out. There has to be more to life than alphabetizing soup cans. And so I want to suggest to you that it's really okay to want stuff. It's not okay to be addicted to stuff. It's not okay to be desperate for stuff. But there's a difference between trying to fill in a black hole that will never be filled and saying, hey, I would like to date that person. I'd like to eat that kind of food for lunch. I'd like to take that little trip for a retreat. One is coming from overflow and sincere self-expression. The others come from deep need, deep craving. And that ain't it. If you're desperately craving, it ain't it. I suggest you step back and try another approach. Now, A Course in Miracles talks about this in a different way. It says, whenever you want something or you have a decision to make, turn that decision over to the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit, according to the Course in Miracles, is it's the mind of God that reaches into the world and speaks to us in terms we understand and guides us in the practical things of life. We don't have to fly off to heaven to figure out what to do in life. We will be guided in the physical and social and financial things of life, but we have to be open to guidance. You can't say, well, this is the way we're going to do it. This is what has to happen. And so you have to say, okay, Spirit, I'd like that job. I like that relationship. Show me, is this right for me? Give me some signs. And you turn the job or the house or the relationship over to Holy Spirit. Say, okay, this is your show. I'm not going to try to boss this. I'm not going to try to force this, but I will watch for signs. And if this is right for me, bring it on. Show me. If this is not right for me, fine, I won't miss it. My good will come to me through one of 100,000 different angles, and this is just one of them. And then you become in the flow of life. There is a flow to life. There's a river of life. And that's a good flow. And it's taking you to good places. And it's caring for you. Stay with the flow, and everything you need that's wonderful and good and soul nourishing and helpful to you and society will show up with the least effort on your part. And I can't quote too much this line from the Course. It says, when you have learned how to decide with God, all decisions become as right and easy as breathing. There will be no effort, and you'll be guided as if along a gentle path in summer. Now, how easy is that? By contrast, when you don't flow with the Tao or the Holy Spirit, you're swimming upstream and you're wondering why nothing is working. Well, you're not with the Tao. So we could summarize this whole discussion by saying, stay with the Tao and everything will unfold naturally and organically and easily and joyfully. The force is already with you. The question is, are you with the force? So the game is not to get the force to help you. The force is already trying to help you. The question is, are you willing to help yourself by relaxing, flowing, trusting, and allowing the force, the Tao, the Holy Spirit to do for you far beyond what you can do for yourself as a little ego. Then life becomes fun. Then you can want stuff and it comes. You can want stuff. If it doesn't come, you don't miss it because you trust. The Course also says that trust would settle every problem now, and that trust is the bedrock of the spiritual person's entire belief system.